Hello folks, this is Paul with VHScollector.com, here once again to bring you a VHS review. But first I want to remind you guys that we have a crowdfunding campaign going on for the rebuilding of VHScollector.com. We are going to rebuild it from the ground up. Hopefully this will eliminate the crashing, but also it's going to have some really cool, neat features. It's going to be a much more efficient website. It's going to be very slick. It's going to look great. But we need your help to build it. It's a costly process. We have new developers on hand. So check out the details below this video or the link connected to this video and perhaps you'll contribute. Let's talk about Satanic Atração. This is a 1989 Brazilian slasher film. Now this was made back to back with this film, The Ritual of Death. It was directed, both of them were directed by Fauzi Mansur. Fauzi Mansur, if I'm saying that correctly, is from his IMDb. He appears to be a porno director in Brazil. He produced and directed some, and he did some legitimate films like these, but these were his two last movies. So this was released in 1990 by Complete Entertainment in the United States. And look at this cover here. It's so simple. It's just a pentagram, a Baphomet, with that title, Satanic Atração, and the title and the Baphomet, the pentagram, are embossed. It's really cool cover. Now, I've heard of this movie before I bought it. I bought this back in 2009 at a video store, and I think I was going to some art event in Queens, New York, and we passed this video. It wasn't really a video store, it was really this eclectic store that sold all kinds of stuff. They sold everything from these kind of videotapes, cult movies. They had a lot of camp video slipcases and a lot of 90s re-releases on VHS. It was just cool, all the titles that they had there in this really weird shop in Queens, because they also sold things from dildos, porn, bongs, magazines, all kinds of random things in this shop. Of course, these VHS tapes stood out to me. I wanted to buy a bunch of them, and I talked to the owner, who was this little Indian guy. I said, listen, I want to buy a ton of this stuff. Can you cut me a deal? He said, no, not really. The only deal I could cut you is that we'll just take off the tax. That kind of insulted me. I was willing to drop hundreds of dollars. So I just walked out of there, just buying two of these and one of these. I kind of regret it now because this thing sells for about $150 or $100 on eBay, which is quite a lot of money. I did not realize this would ever go for that much. I think when I bought this it was selling for about $20 on eBay, but now 150 bucks. I think word is getting around about this movie because, as I'll describe, it's not really that bad a movie. It's quite fun and interesting. It's quite gory, as we'll get into. But I mentioned this movie in a VHS update video that I used to do. If you look at this channel, I used to do a bunch of VHS updates when I would buy new VHS tapes. And I told my viewers that I would love to review this movie, but my copies are sealed. I don't want to open them. Even though I had two of them, I didn't want to open up either one of them. One of the users sent me a link to download the movie. I guess somebody had already ripped the VHS and uploaded it on the internet. It was like a torrent maybe or something. And so I've had it ever since. I just been sitting on this and not reviewing it, but today we are going to talk about this movie finally. So thanks whoever sent me that link. I don't remember. This was back in 2009, so it was quite a while ago, 8 years or something, but thanks again, whoever you are. If you're wondering where my other copy is, I traded it for a Class Reunion Massacre big box from Continental Video. Really cool video, and I don't regret it. That probably sells for maybe $100. I don't know, but it was a tape I really wanted. I thought it was, at the time, I thought it was a steal, but as it turns out, I think the other guy might have gotten the better end of the bargain, but that's okay. I don't regret it. So the copy that I'm reviewing this from, the download, is quite bad. It has a lot of compression. I'm assuming it's from this release because I haven't seen any other releases of Satanic Atração anywhere. But it has burnt-in Portuguese subtitles on there. So, and like I said, it's rough. So the picture quality is not very good. The sound quality is not very good. I could only imagine this would be better watching it directly from the VHS tape. So I can't really comment directly on the picture quality of the VHS tape, but we're going to talk about the movie. So the film begins with natives performing a ritual that leads to the basement of a mansion where a pair of twins, a boy and girl, have their wrists cut as part of a satanic ritual. It's described later in the film that these rituals were common amongst the wealthy in an attempt to protect their riches and status. The film then cuts to 14 years later, where we have a radio disc jockey named Fernanda telling horrific tales of satanic cults and serial killers live on the air. At the same time as these stories are told, a killer is roaming about, slaying his victims in the same manner as described in the radio program. As part of a satanic ritual for resurrection, he collects their blood in buckets and pours them upon the shallow grave of his dead sister. These are the same brother and sister seen earlier in the film 14 years ago. Because the details of the crime are so similar to what Fernanda is describing on the radio, detectives begin to suspect her involvement. Throughout the film, many people are impaled, butchered, sliced up. One woman is somehow tricked into washing herself with a razor blade-ridden bar of soap before being hacked up by her killer. When Sarah returns to her brother Christian upon finding 2 severed feet outside her window, he rapes her, and she becomes part of yet another satanic ritual, where she is strangled and killed. Her brother goes on a rampage, killing an additional 4 or 5 people to collect blood yet again to bring her back. By this point, it is too late. Police find him at the grave of his sister, where he is shot. As he lies dying, his body slowly disappears. For me, the confusing nature of this film begins when Sarah returns to her brother. She appears to be the same person we see earlier in the film, Claudia. So who is Claudia, and what is her connection to Sarah? Also, who is the corpse in Sarah's grave that was slowly coming back to life? Could this all be in Christian's mind? Or perhaps did I miss some crucial detail due to watching a shoddy print of the film? Also, why does the satanic cult leader, Raphael, who is also the same guy who runs the radio station as we find out later, use ritual magic to control Fernanda's mind into telling the details of the crimes as they happen? What purpose does this serve? If anything, it draws the attention of the police to the radio station. Perhaps this complicated and seemingly messy plot could be explained by Fernanda when she states,
"Now that Christian is dead, the real world once again unites with fantasy, although it is beyond our comprehension. Christian and Sarah are past the limits of mortal laws, and thus can never be judged by them."
Now, Satanic Atraction, as I mentioned earlier, is a really fun film. It's quite gory, and I'm surprised more people aren't talking about it. It only has 4 reviews on IMDb, and I think like 2 of them or 3 of them aren't even very in favor of this movie. But if you're into schlocky movies, you'll see that this is not even that bad. I think one of the reviewers on IMDb said it was the worst movie he's ever seen, and I was thinking, oh my god, seriously, you think this is the worst movie you've ever seen? It's really not that bad. I think the difficult part to get over with this movie is the awful, awful English dub on it. It is so bad.
You know, you have to agree with me. This program is starting to provoke general panic.
Yeah, but it's nice to see people once again being carried away by the magic of radio. Even young people. Don't you think so?
How about you? What's your opinion?
I prefer not to have an opinion.
So one of the reviewers mentioned on IMDb that he was friends with the woman who did the English dialogue for the character of Sarah, and that the film company or post-production crew, what they ended up doing is hiring a bunch of American students to do the dubbing for this movie. And it shows. They're clearly not actors. The dubbing is so bad, and I think that's part of why this movie gets such a bad rap. It's a very entertaining movie. If you can get past the awful dubbing, then you'll see that it's really not that bad. It's a pretty good slasher film. You know, I think the cinematography is pretty good. The editing is clunky here and there, but otherwise, it's not that bad. It actually reminds me, for some reason, I can't really put a finger on it, but it reminds me of Blood Frenzy. I don't know why. Maybe it's just that aesthetic that kind of seeps over to the horror films from the porn industry. I don't know, but I actually kind of enjoy it. It's a little lengthy. I think maybe it could be trimmed a little bit, and it's also incredibly confusing with some of the characters. Fernanda, the DJ, the radio DJ, looks awfully similar to Sarah, the twin sister of this satanic killer. And it just confused me over and over again. I would try to look at the clothing that they would wear to try to follow them. Both of them have blonde hair. The styling looks similar. It's just incredibly confusing. But other than that, it's pretty good. The gore is not good gore. I'm not saying this is Tom Savini level effects, but there's a lot of it. And, you know, it's corny gore. It's still fun nonetheless. The actors in the movie are career actors. They were in a few other Brazilian films. These weren't just some people they pulled off the street. And some people criticize some of the acting on here, but I think the criticism is unfair. I don't think the acting is that bad. I think just the dub is so bad and horrendous. I think this was quite an ambitious film for the director and the producer. They put a lot of effort into it, clearly, and some of the shots are very artistic, and they try to do twists, and they try to trick the audience. And I mean, it's just not a straightforward slasher film like Friday the 13th or something. They try to do something special with this. Whether they succeed or not is up to you to decide. They probably didn't, but at least they tried. It's still a fun film to watch, just because of all the crazy gore sequences. So really, give it a look. You might enjoy it if you could find it anywhere. This would be a perfect title for maybe Vinegar Syndrome or someone else to release on Blu-ray. I think it really deserves the restoration, especially because the VHS, or at least the rip that I watched, was so dark in picture quality. You couldn't see a lot of the detail, and that might actually be good for some of the really bad gore effects. Even with the really poor picture quality of what I was watching, you could see how bad the gore effects were. So I would love to see a Blu-ray or a 2K scan of this and just see all that detail pop out. It might be a pretty fun experience. Between the really bad gore effects and the really bad dubbing, this could be awesome. This could be a really fun experience to watch. So you got the gore, you got the incest, you got the background of the director from porn. I mean, there's just a lot of things going for this. It's just odd, and it's all over the place. So confusing, yes, like I said, but it still has a lot of the taboos in there that make horror fun, interesting, and just a roller coaster ride. So this has been Paul with VHScollector.com. Stay tuned for more reviews, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.